President Cyril Ramaphosa is answering questions in the National Council of Provinces. Let's take you live there now.
There is no doubt that the summit itself has laid a formidable foundation for the expansion of Brics to reshape the global order and to advance a multiple polar world order. And following the Brics summit itself, there was a parliamentary forum that South Africa also hosted, which also made an indelible contribution towards ensuring that Brics succeeds in terms of its endeavors. In the light of this, Mr. President, to what an extent is South Africa leveraging the opportunity presented by the 2023 Brics Plus expansion to seek more opportunities for socio-economic prosperity of the people of South Africa and the African continent as a whole?
Over to you, Honourable President.
Thank you. As you well know, the few times that we have had the opportunity to chair the Brics Forum, we have always insisted that we would like the focus to be on Africa. And as we hosted the Brics Summit, the theme was to ensure that the Brics countries focus on Africa, and to this end we took care to invite many countries on the African continent to be in attendance so that they can have an opportunity to have discussions either through bilaterals or other fora with Brics leaders. And this happened. And we were pleased to see that many African leaders, and indeed through their ministers and others, were able to have discussions. And prior to the summit itself, there were a number of other engagements. And you cite one of those, which was the Brics Parliamentary Forum. There were exchanges at political parties level as well. The youth also had an opportunity to intermingle with young people from other Brics countries, as did the women in the various countries as well. This, in many ways, is aimed at enhancing people-to-people contact, but it is also aimed at extending economic development right across our continent and also promoting trade. I believe that many deals were arrived at during and after the Brics Summit, and this to us is clear testimony of the importance of Brics. We as a country have benefited a great deal by the association with other Brics countries, and China today is our largest trading partner, and this has largely been cemented, upheld and encouraged by our membership of Brics. And indeed, many other Brics members who have now been admitted are going to find that Brics is an important forum that goes beyond just the political engagements at that level, but also involves economic development, trade extension, technology extension, and many other beneficial areas that advance humanity. So for us, the expansion of Brics to bring it to up to 11 members has really given a great boost, particularly to the Global South. And we are, as it is now, going to consider the membership applications from many other countries that want to be part of Brics. So Brics continues to grow. It continues to grow in importance economically, politically, as well as trade is concerned. So Brics is the great attraction that many countries now see for development, and we want to keep Brics as an important forum, as an important partnership that progresses countries that are associated with it or part of it. So the summit that we held here was, as you correctly say, a hugely successful summit. And we are proud that the people of South Africa were part of it, embraced it, and also enabled it to happen here on South African soil. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honourable President. We are continuing. And Honourable Ms. DC Christians, you will be the next one for the follow-up.
Thank you, Deputy Chairperson, and good afternoon, Mr. President. Mr. President, in light of the substantial financial resources allocated for hosting the recent Brics Summit in South Africa, including approximately 75 million rand in expenses, the deployment of 5,234 South African Police Service members, and 726 SAPS vehicles. Could you please explain, Mr. President, how these expenditures align with the country's broader economic and development priorities, particularly in addressing urgent domestic challenges such as the increased food and fuel costs, unemployment and poverty? Given the current problems facing our country, what immediate benefits and assistance are South Africans receiving as a result of hosting the summit? Thank you, Deputy Chairperson.
President.
Thank you. The mere holding of a summit as large as the Brics Summit was, and this by any measure was the biggest Brics Summit, brings together a huge number of people, many of whom come to South Africa either for the first time, they come to spend their money here. One country alone, China, brought up to 600 people who, due to their presence here, needed beds to sleep in, needed food, transportation, and all that. And many other countries also brought a number of delegates to come and attend. Now, when you have an event like that, it inevitably leads to an economic benefit immediately, because many of these people come holding money from their own countries to spend here. So it increases the number of people who work, and beyond that, just the association in Brics, as I was saying, leads to a great deal of economic benefits for our country. And we have seen such. The growth of our trade with Brics countries has grown by leaps and bounds. And many of the areas in which our trade has grown has been by virtue of being associated in Brics. So there is a clear economic benefit there. And as we hold bilaterals with the Brics countries here, we don't only talk politics, we also talk about economic development, about trade, about goods that we can sell to each other, products we sell to each other. To give you a very good example, President Xi Jinping of China kept on saying, we want more and more South African-made goods. Bring your goods to China so that we can buy your goods. And similarly with India, and similarly with Brazil. And all those countries that have now newly been admitted to Brics are going to have precisely that type of approach and disposition. So the money that was spent, be it for having our security service people, making sure that there is order and peace, be it a number of other government officials who were providing various services, is far less than the gains we are going to make from the Brics Association. And for starters, just by holding that summit in itself was a huge boost, not only to the image of our country, but also in trade and economic terms. So be rest assured, Brics is a great benefit to our country, and it's an association that we're very proud of and that we intend to continue with. Thank you very much.
Thank you, President. The next follow-up, Mr. M.A.P. De Bruin.
Thank you, Deputy Chair. Honourable President, with regards to countries like China, Russia and Brazil that form part of Brics, what will you do, Mr. President, to ensure that these countries don't use South Africa as a product dump?
As a what? Sorry?
As a product dump, only to benefit themselves at our expense. And examples of this is, for instance, the amount of chicken that is being offset to South Africa by Brazil, and the amount of sugar that we are currently importing instead of rather using our own sugarcane farmers. Now, Honourable President, it is important that local food security is protected, and also protecting the local economy and ensuring affordable food prices. And this product dumping is detrimental to our agricultural sector, benefiting only the larger BRICS countries. So what will your government do, Honourable President, to rectify this and to avoid this in the future? Thank you.
Our government, Mr. De Bruin. Honourable President.
I was actually going to try and correct the honourable member. You are a South African citizen, even if you belong to another party. This is our government. It is the government of the people of South Africa. So let's be clear about that. So we are alive to the issues that you are raising, and thank you once again for being a sensitive South African to raise issues like that. Because for us, food security is one of the key important priorities that we need to focus on, and to ensure also that the rise in food prices, living prices are curbed as much as possible. Issues such as the ones you are raising, where cheaper products come into our country, are matters that we discuss at a fairly extensive and deep level with our trading partners, because we would like to have fair trading relationships with those countries. And much as the prices may be lower because they are able to have much lower production costs in their own country, when they come here, they threaten the jobs of South Africans. And that's precisely what we need to focus on as South Africans. We have been engaged in similar talks and engagements with many other countries, be it the United States and Europe, and our colleagues, my colleagues in government, continue to engage with those countries. And those matters are dealt with through trade protocols that we have, because we don't, in the end, want our country to be a dumping ground. We want to trade fairly with those countries and be able also to export a number of products to them, including agricultural products. As it is now, yes, those products that you mentioned are also exported by South Africa to other countries. Now, obviously, there is that process in which we have to balance everything, where we have to balance our trade and the various products that we exchange between countries. So those discussions are quite extensive, and as you may well know, they are also regulated by the World Trade Organization, which, as I said earlier, we want to see being reformed to enable various countries, particularly the Global South countries, to participate fairly on par with your Northern Hemisphere countries as well, who at the moment seem to be in a much dominant position. So discussions are ongoing on that, and trade treaties that we enter into focus on matters like dumping. As it is now, the Africa Continental Free Trade Area is going to stand us in good stead, because it is going to promote trade amongst African countries, so that we are able to trade as African countries amongst ourselves to increase the level of food security, to to increase the level of locally made products between and amongst our own countries on the African continent. So the issue you raise is a very good point, and I applaud you for that. But I remind you once again, it is our government and not a government of one section of the people of South Africa. So when I get a moment to have tea with you, I will try to train you to say our government rather than my government. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable President. The last follow-up for this question is from our Chief Whip, Honorable Mr. S.J. Mohai.
Thank you very much, Deputy Chair. And let me start, of course, by saying, Mr. President, your sterling leadership to our country and the continent on these critical areas of work to focus our attention on economic growth and development, and also to particularly pay more attention on the integration of the continent's economy is most welcomed. And we also must say, Mr. President, that it is, of course, appropriate that we discuss economic benefits of belonging to Brics and the implication of its expansion to our own domestic economy and the rest of the continent. Perhaps the question could be, Mr. President, how will, as you have alluded to, on the agricultural products, how will Brics help us to advance the objectives that are set out in the Africa continental trade area? Thanks.
Thank you, Chief Whip, Honorable President.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Chair. Our association with Brics or with Brics countries benefits us in more than one way, in that the focus on economic development becomes the centerpiece of the relationship we all have in Brics, and we've made that very clear from the beginning. And if you look at the declarations that emanate from the Brics forums, you'll find that economic development is really at the center of what we see as promoting a good relationship amongst Brics countries. And as part of that, we also focus on what each of the Brics countries can draw strength from each other. And from other countries, we draw strength from their technology, their way of doing things. Those that are excellent, we want to learn from. We want to be able to emulate them. And we also want to exchange views and experiences with them. And when it comes to trade, particularly trade, we are trading extremely well with many of those countries, and that in itself leads to the creation of jobs in our own country. We have seen enormous growth in trade, and just as the Brics countries were here, we were able to reach agreements, for instance, on agricultural products, for the exportation of our beef to China. That had been closed because of foot and mouth disease challenges, and when it reopened after negotiations with us, the level or the quantity of the beef that we could export to the Chinese market had grown exponentially. Now, with the newly admitted members, such as the UAE and Saudi Arabia, we are now able to export some agricultural products to them in larger quantities. And that in itself leads to great benefits for South Africa as a country and the people of our country, because it leads to increase in employment. And from them we also get technology. For instance, Brazil is a country similar to ours in many ways, but they've distinguished themselves when it comes to the usage of technology, when it comes to the agricultural area. And we can learn a lot from them, and we can import really well-made products. But that does not mean that we don't get similar products from other countries in the global north. We do get those, but our association in BRICS, and particularly for various countries on our continent, is what is top of mind as we seek to develop ourselves and our countries on the African continent economically. So I should not repeat once again that this is one relationship which perhaps apart from our membership of the United Nations is very key to the development of our own country, and we are very proud to be in that type of club that is so important and growing by leaps and bounds. Thank you, Deputy Chair.
Thank you, Honourable the President. We will now come to question number 8, as was asked by Honourable Tim Brotherset.
As part of the strengthened effort to combat economic sabotage, the South African Police Service has established 20 economic infrastructure task teams throughout the country, and they spread throughout our various provinces. Of these, 18 have been established at district level and 2 at provincial level as well. A total of 946 personnel have been allocated to the 20 economic infrastructure task teams from existing structures within each province and district. They are experienced. The people who've been put there are knowledgeable within their respective functional environments. The teams integrate processes, but they also integrate resources and intelligence across all the operational environments of the South African Police Service under a single command. This is to enable them to successfully combat essential infrastructure crimes, but also to focus on illicit mining and extortion within the construction sector. These teams incorporate personnel from the SAPS division, such as crime intelligence, visible policing and operations, and the detective and forensic services, as well as the Directorate for Priority Crime Investigation. They also work with other role players on an ad hoc and ongoing basis. These include the National Prosecuting Authority, the Financial Intelligence Center, relevant government departments, the National Intelligence Coordinating Committee, as well as the South African Revenue Service. They also work with state-owned enterprises such as Transnet and Eskom and other industry players. Various resources are made available to these task teams, ranging from vehicles, no doubt, which they use, radios, and many others that they need to have at their disposals. An operational budget of some 20 million was ring-fenced and allocated for the implementation of the task team work during 2022-2023 financial year, and another 17 million has also been allocated. Between their establishment in June last year and the end of June this year, these teams have made over 4,000 arrests with respect to the damage of essential and critical infrastructure. They have also arrested over 70 people with respect to extortion at construction sites and made over 3,000 arrests for illegal mining. Now, these teams have confiscated significant quantities of items such as copper cable, rail tracks, and other metals as well. The sabotage of our infrastructure and our economy continues to pose a great threat to the country's development. However, through the work of the economic infrastructure task teams, together with partners in the state as well as the private sector, we are making progress in combating these crimes. One needs to hear the accounts from the key role players here, from business as well as the operatives on the ground, as they relate the various events or operations that they get involved in, and how they go about dealing with those who are transgressing the law. I think we are making progress. It is an enormous challenge that our country faces, but we are focusing on this, and my discussions with the members of the South African Police Service and those who are responsible tells me that progress is being made and will definitely be made in this regard. So we wish them well in their important task, and we will continue to give them the resources that they need to make sure that these types of crimes are brought to book. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable President. The first follow-up will be from the Honourable Brics.
Thank you, Honourable President. Honourable President, I note with great interest your statistic of 70 arrests for extortion. It's a bit at odds with Minister Zikalala's 200 arrests, but I'm sure the truth falls somewhere in between. Mr. President, the issue of construction mafia has, and I don't know if you're aware of this, morphed far from just construction mafia, but it's morphed into classic mafia practice. So-called business forums, often aided and abetted by taxi association aligned security companies, arrive at businesses, not construction firms, fully armed, and simply take over. They then instruct the owners of the business that they, from there on, will issue the contracts for cleaning services and for security services. And they often then also demand a Zuma-approved 30% stake in the business, with no intervention whatsoever. Mr. President, shortly after submitting this question via Parliament to the Presidency, there was a massive flurry of activity in all the units around the country. I'd obviously been doing research with these units, and they were initially one person per province, Mr. President, and now they are functional units. So whether by pressure or by coincidence, that is to be welcomed. The issue I want to raise with you, Mr. President, today is that we need to move this focus away from construction firms only. There are a lot of businesses in South Africa that have been captured in the way I've described. Are you prepared to establish urgently a presidential or presidency hotline that business captures can be reported to and receive the required SAPS intervention in order to smash these mafia cartels once and for all? Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Brics. President.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to hear that you have taken notice of the activity that is now getting underway in a much more vigorous way with regard to dealing with these criminals who go to building sites and try to extort money. But as you also correctly say, they've now morphed into being something else. They are now gangs that go around intimidating business people, taking over building sites. We are aware of this, and that is why the tasked teams have been enhanced, and that is why we are deploying enormous resources to enable them to do their work. Now, when it comes to setting up a presidential hotline, we are improving the functionality of the usual hotline that the police have, so that various citizens, the citizens of our country, can have better and more effective and efficient access to their communication with the police. Now, that hotline is a matter that is being discussed in the various engagements that we are having at the national level, where business leaders as well as government leaders, get together, and on a 6-weekly basis, they come and report to me with regard to the progress that is being made. As you may well know, we've set up a number of work streams. One of them deals with crime and corruption. And as part of that, we're looking at communications that will give a sense of safety to our people, that they will have a hotline that they can have access to. It's the usual police line that we've had in the past, but it's being enhanced. It's being made better. A great deal of improvement is underway in that regard, and the presidency is involved in making sure that that hotline becomes more and more effective. Now, business people will be able to resort to that line, but we will examine precisely what you are saying to see how best we can give more assistance. And it's not only to business people, it's also to the workers, because as these thugs get to building sites, they also attack workers, and they subject workers to a great deal of pressure to do wrong things from time to time. So all these matters are now being focused on vigorously. And I'm glad to hear that you've noticed that there's quite a bit of movement in this regard, and there will continue to be movement. We are going to go after those gangs. We are going to go after those people who hijack either building sites and all that. And all those, whether they are in taxi industry or construction industry, who do wrong things, they will have to pay and be accountable for their wrong activities. That we will give an assurance to our people for. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable President. The next follow-up will be from Honourable Ms. Shaik.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chairperson, and greetings to the Honourable President. Mr. President, it is increasingly becoming clear that if the growing scourge of construction mafias is not addressed, the country's construction industry will be severely disrupted, and the construction industry will continue to lose the skills needed to deliver vital infrastructure projects and create jobs to our people. Mr. President, what measures is the government taking to ensure that construction development involves local business and employ local residents to create community ownership so as to negate extortionists as they masquerade as local business people? Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Sheikh. Honourable the President.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Chair. I've heard of wonderful experiences of businesses in construction who, as they take up a project, make sure that they interface with a great deal number of people as well as organizations in the area where the project is to be executed. This they do so that the project can be owned by the people in the locality, where they also ensure that there is economic benefit that will flow not only to a group of people, but to the people in the local area. And those businesses that have done that, they have found that there is little appetite for those who would want to come and extort money from them to hijack the project, because once we have ensured that a project is executed in that way, where the community is involved in one form, shape, or other, and where the jobs that are going to be done are also given to the people in the community, that in many ways serves as a protection for the project itself, because the people in the community will be so jealous of their own project that leads to development for them being taken over by people from the outside. And those business entities that take the time and the trouble to get even associations in the area involved, women's associations, youth associations, business associations, even sporting associations in the area, including taxi associations, they find that the project can progress much more efficiently without much trouble. Now, I've heard these stories from a number of business people in the construction industry who, even as I ask whether their project has been taken over, they say no. And when I ask the reason, they give me that type of reason. I do believe that with any activity, economic or otherwise, it is always best to involve the community, whether it's a construction of a school, whether it's of a clinic, or whether it's of a building. If people in the community are involved and consulted and informed what the benefits of that installation or construction will be, they will embrace it. They will see that they too are going to benefit. And people often, one, want to be informed, to be consulted, and they also want to see themselves being part of any development that takes place. If we don't do that, we give ground to those who may want to come and disrupt. And I would urge people in the construction industry to do that as much as they possibly can. And obviously, where that does not succeed, the police, our task teams, as I spoke about them earlier, will always be on hand. And in fact, the starting point should also be involving the police and a whole number of other government agencies to be part of the whole process. And if many of our construction projects can go that way, we will find that things work smoothly and our construction industry also works very well. Those are my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable the President. Honorable Mr. N.M. Hadebe Mzungezwa. Hadebe.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Chairperson. Greetings to His Excellency, the President of the Republic. Mr. President, considering that these special units consist of individuals with a specified skill set, I would like to know how the recruitment for members of these units works, especially considering that the South African Police Services is already heavily understaffed. Thank you, Deputy Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Hadebe. Honorable the President.
Thank you. Up to now, the people who are in these task teams have been drawn from various sections of the police service, either from the detective section, from the static policing section, and from the public protection service and all that. So they have been drawn from the various, if you like, departments of the South African Police Service. Now, as well as crime intelligence. So they are a multidisciplinary type of team that is involved in this task team. And you raise an important question about the fact that our police service is short-staffed. We have addressed this, and I've addressed this in the State of the Nation address. And to resolve this problem, we have said that we are going to recruit more. And in the past State of the Nation addresses, I've said we're going to recruit 10,000. They were recruited, and they've been trained, and they've been deployed in the field. This year, I said exactly the same. They've been recruited, they are being trained, and they are going to be brought into the field, so that we bring the levels of our police service members to a level that compares very well with our population numbers. So the recruitment is underway, and we are going to continue bolstering the capability of these task teams. And much as I said, they've been allocated money. The money they've been allocated is still small. I'd like to see more money being allocated to them so that they become much more effective than they are. But believe you me, work is being done. This is an area of focus that is now underway. I've discussed it extensively with the Minister of Police as well as the commander or the commissioner of police. So there is a great deal of focus, and I do believe that we are going to resolve this problem as time goes on. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable President. Finally, on the very same question, it will be Honourable Brattesset again.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Chairperson. The withdrawal of the EFF today has granted me the unique opportunity to ask you a second question, Mr. President. Mr. President.
Yeah, Bangena.
Mr. President, obviously in preparation for today, I've been speaking to a number of stakeholders in this particular issue, and I once again reiterate that we must not focus only on construction site mafia, but mafia right across, as you said, gangs of thugs who just go and capture businesses. And you're quite correct that when construction developers start well and work with the community from the beginning, that's a great insurance policy to defeat this sort of thing. However, the following challenges have been raised with me, Mr. President, and I feel it's right that I raise them to you today and ask you for a commitment to addressing these issues. The first one is there is a monthly steering committee that meets with all the provinces around the country that includes business and the SAPS, SSA and NPA. A large complaint that comes out of those steering meetings is that the SAPS presence is always lacking. So if I could just note that as the first issue. The second issue that is coming out as just a practical issue is that we need a witness security protection program relating to this. The resources and the people involved in this are playing big money games. And somebody who's prepared to raise their hand and say, my business is being captured, should literally fear for their life. And so the next point I want to raise is a witness protection program that looks after whistleblowers, their financial security, their physical security, and their mental well-being as well. The third thing that is being raised as a practical issue, Mr. President, is a specialized prosecutorial unit that will deal with extortion. Specialized, that deals with extortion and this type of gangland, mafia-style thuggery of extortion, seizing businesses. A specialized prosecutorial unit that will... Those are the queries that I've had from the business community to you today, sir, and I ask if you could make a commitment in line with your 2020 SONA promise to engage with the ministers of police and of justice to try and get a realization on these critical issues. Thank you, sir.
I'm sure Honourable Bratta said you meant the state of the nation and not the state of the province. State of the nation, not state of the province. That's what I'm saying. Over to you, Honourable the President.
I thought he was talking about the 2024 State of the Nation address. Thank you. As well as the 2025 State of the Nation and many others. Well, my answer is very simple and straightforward. All the matters that you have raised, I'm willing to give a commitment to say that the police and where they've been absent and not really giving their full attendance and attention, that will be raised. The issue of the witness protection program is under consideration, and we are putting the bells and whistles of how we can strengthen the witness protection program, and so that whistleblowers will be able to feel free and courageous to come forward And the prosecutorial special unit is a matter that obviously needs to be looked at. But some people have even said you need to have even special courts, but we leave that one to the side and focus on fighting this level of criminality and make breakthroughs and deal with these gangs. And that is something that is now underway, and we're focusing more intently on it. But thank you very much for the suggestions that you've made. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable President. We will now come to question number 9, as asked by Honorable Lucas, and Honorable Bartlett will stand in on this question. Over to you.
Oh, those are live visuals coming through. President Cyril Ramaphosa answering questions in the National Council of Provinces. We've seen some of the questions that had been posed, really looking at issues such as the outcomes of Brics Summit, the economic emancipation, empowerment of women. There was the issue of the construction mafia that's also formed part of the pertinent discussions. Climate change also again coming to the fore, as well as youth development at large. So we'll leave it there for now.